Mia, I need your help. How do you persuade people to listen to an idea? What's my idea, you ask? Well, I'd like to demand that the president create a national free ice cream day. A day where everyone, everyone, has the right to at least one free ice cream cone. I know the president probably won't listen, but if I inspire millions of people to demand it with me, maybe they will. Should I say something like, all humans were created equal and born with certain human rights, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of delicious frozen desserts? I don't know. How do I inspire millions of people, all with different opinions about ice cream, to come together to support me? I'm stuck. Leaders of the American Revolution were faced with a kind of similar problem back in 1776. How would they unite millions of colonists to support the cause of American independence? Especially when some people weren't convinced independence would improve their living conditions. Today we'll explore how the writers of the Declaration of Independence came together to create a document that tried to do just that, to convince the American colonists and people around the world that American independence was worth fighting for. We'll see what this document reveals about the founders' intentions and vision for the future country. And of course, we'll answer the lesson's essential question. Why did the American colonies declare independence from Britain? As well as our guiding questions for today. What were some of the grievances listed in the Declaration of Independence? What does the Declaration of Independence reveal about the founders' visions for the United States? All right. Let's dive in. The revolution was well underway even before the Declaration was signed, and some colonies were already drafting their own resolutions for independence. The writers knew it was time to capitalize on the momentum of the revolution and draft a document that both addressed the grievances, or complaints, with the British Crown and announced their official vision for a future United States of America. Let's take a look at the grievances first. Make sure to follow along and complete your graphic organizer for your first guiding question as we discuss each grievance. Although these could just be considered complaints, they also communicated what the writers wanted to get out of American independence. For example, the writers stated that the American colonies wanted to have the power to make their own laws and govern themselves without interference from a distant monarch. They said it was unfair to be taxed if they didn't have representation in Parliament. In addition, the British government rarely considered the need of the colonists when passing laws, making it almost impossible for colonists to have a voice. They mentioned that people had natural rights, like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The British government violated these rights by taking away a colonist's right to a trial by jury and forcing settlers to support British soldiers stationed in the colonies. They argued that it was their duty to create a new government that would protect such rights. They wrote that the Crown had restricted the colonists' ability to trade with other countries, which limited the economic growth and prosperity of the colonies. Instead, they argued, they deserved economic independence, the right to control their own resources and trade without any restrictions. Overall, the grievances listed by the writers spoke volumes, not just about the goals of the revolution, but about the country they envisioned for themselves and the American people. Before we hear about that vision and the ideas that influenced them, let's pause and make sure our organizer is complete. So, who actually wrote the Declaration? Well, it was revised and approved by a committee of 5 men that most notably included Benjamin Franklin, as well as future presidents John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. But Jefferson is credited with writing the majority of the document. So, what were some of his and the committee's key values that shaped their vision of the United States? Let's start with one of the most talked about passages from the Declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Stop and reflect. What values or ideas do you think the founders are talking about here? Well, one of the most important values present here is the idea of unalienable rights, or rights that can't be taken away because they were given to us by nature. This concept of natural rights was influenced by British philosopher John Locke's idea that human beings had the right to life, liberty, and property? Yeah, they changed that last part up a little bit, but we'll address the reasons for that later. What do you think the founders meant when they said, governments are instituted among men to secure these rights? See, they envisioned a country in which a government's sole purpose was to guarantee that individual rights were protected, and that the government's power came from the people themselves. Without the consent of the governed, the government would not exist. But they also argued that a government's power should be limited to ensure it doesn't become a source of tyranny. And if its power became destructive and wasn't serving the people's best interests, they argue that it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government. Do you believe people have the right to change or abolish a government if it's not serving their interests? Why or why not? As you can see, accountability was important to the writers. They wrote that, in a country, everyone, even the government, should be held accountable to a set of clearly defined laws. Justice should work for everyone. Phew! A lot of revolutionary ideas, right? Let's review one last time before we wrap up. What does the Declaration of Independence reveal about the founders' visions for the United States? So, what do you think? Would you support the revolutionary cause based on the ideas presented in the Declaration of Independence? As we mentioned, the Declaration was a tool that the founders crafted to help garner support for the revolution, and it certainly accomplished that goal. It also revealed much about what they envisioned a future United States could look like. But was the Declaration perfect? Far from it. Although it laid out a revolutionary vision for what an independent United States could look like, millions of enslaved peoples, women, and other marginalized communities were left out. But we'll examine that a bit more closely in the next lesson. Until then, take a moment to consider whether your own government is currently protecting or honoring the rights that are most important to you. If not, think about what you and your loved ones can do to change that government. Maybe you'll work with your elected official to introduce a new law, or organize a protest to demand the changes you want to see. Regardless, trust that your right to fight for a more equitable world is important and worth protecting. Even more important than securing free ice cream for everyone. See you next time, and remember, keep making history. Hey!